Hey everyone, Chris here with another installment of 5 cool cards to collect. The first video I did of this got a pretty good response, and it is something I do want to make a regular part of my channel. As I said in the first one, it's kind of my response to the 5 cards going to the moon videos. For me, it's 5 cool cards that I like to collect. It has nothing to do with monetary value. For whatever reason, I think they're cool, so I like to show them and give you the reason why I collect them. Before I do that, I kind of want to talk a little bit about health of the hobby, health of the card hobby. And I think the reason I want to do this is I think it's going to tie in nicely with the first card that I show. There's kind of a lot of talk out there about what's healthy for the card hobby, what does that look like, what is unhealthy. And to me, what unhealthy looks like is when you see a lot of people showing these graphs and things like that, and you see these prices fluctuating up and down, up and down. To me, that's a bad sign. That to me is an unhealthy hobby, because what that tells me is I believe there are more speculators that have come into the hobby than pure collectors. And I have nothing against speculators. You're more than welcome to do that if that's your thing. But I believe there needs to be more collectors coming in than speculators. So on the flip side of that, what I believe looks like a healthy hobby is when you see steady values of cards increasing. And that's an overall picture of card prices, if you will. To me, what that shows you have more collectors that are coming into the hobby, and they're buying cards and just keeping them. They have no interest in reselling them. It's purely for joy. And to me, that represents a healthy hobby. Now, one of the other things, and this kind of ties in with the first card that I'm going to show, that I believe is a healthy hobby, a sign of a healthy hobby, is when people share their knowledge about cards, they share their knowledge about sets, and it may lead another collector to say, hey, that's a really cool card. I'd like to have that for my collection. And so the first card that I'm going to show is kind of an example of that. I had no idea who this guy was not aware of the card, and I was actually made aware of it by, to me, one of the all-stars in the YouTube card community, and that's John Mangini. And what I like about his channel is he's always willing to show his cards, and he always gives you kind of a little tutorial of why he likes the card, why he collects it. And he showed this card, it's been a while now, maybe 6 months. And I had no idea who it was, but it's this card. It's a 1939 play ball, Mel Almada. I had not heard of him before, and he showed this card on his channel, and he called him the Mexican Jackie Robinson. And he is the first Mexican player to play in the major leagues, which I thought was really cool. But he also shared an interesting fact of he was the last person to get a hit off of Babe Ruth as a pitcher. And to me, that's 2 really cool things. And I also ended up finding out, too, that he had, in 1938, I think it was, he hit safely in 54 or 56 games in the major leagues, which is pretty incredible. That's a pretty nice little stretch there. But anyway, John showed this card, and I was like, man, that's a really cool card. I need to put that on my saved search list. So I did that. And every card that kind of came up, I didn't really either like the condition or the price. And to me, the condition's not that big of a deal, but it's got to kind of line up with the price I'm looking for also. So anyway, I had it on my watch list. I actually stumbled upon this one when I actually was looking at a different card from this particular seller, and checked his other listings, and stumbled on this card. And it was interesting because the card was misspelled, like his name was misspelled. It first of all put in Milo, which is his full given name, but he goes by Mel. But also the last name was misspelled as well. And the seller also didn't have a picture of the back. And if you look at this card, it's just a sharp looking card. I mean, it's beautiful. And to be honest, I was wondering if it was a reprint just based on the picture and the listing. And I was kind of hesitant to bid, but ultimately I said, you know, I'd be comfortable paying this. And if it turns out to be a reprint, I'll return it. And needless to say, I was happy when I got it. You can just look at the back here. The back's just beautiful as well. But I got this card for something like $12 or $13 and was just ecstatic to get it. And I would have never been able to, I would have never probably even known who this guy was if not for a channel like John's channel. So I really do appreciate the way he's always willing to share his knowledge and tell people about things like that. Second card I want to show, by the way, I have 3 baseball cards, 1 football card, and a hockey card that I'm going to show. And the second card is this 1957 Topps Dodgers Sluggers card. I just love this card. I mean, I can picture these guys out on the field, maybe before a game, getting their picture taken by the Topps photographer. And I just kind of picture myself as a fan walking into Ebbets Field and seeing this. I mean, I just think it's amazing. But you have Carl Furillo, Gil Hodges, Roy Campanella, and Duke Snider all on this card. And in the background, you can kind of see part of the scoreboard and the advertising on the fence in the back. You've got the Jim Razor and the Esquire boot polish ad. I just think this is a classic photo. And the Dodgers, a couple years prior, had broken through and beaten the Yankees, their longtime nemesis. And with showing that card, I feel like I have to show this one. And this is from also the 1957 Topps set. It's the Yankees Power Hitters card with Mickey Mantle and Yogi Berra on it. I mean, what can you say? I mean, classic Yankees right here. And again, I just picture these guys being in the dugout prior to a game and the photographer getting their picture. And maybe you're at old Yankee Stadium kind of taking all this in as a young kid. I just think that's amazing to think about. But what I really like is the back of the card, too. Let me just read this real quickly. Probably the most feared power combination in the major leagues, Mickey and Yogi remind Yankee fans of the Murderer's Row of Ruth and Gehrig days. A perfect illustration of their devastating power was in the 1956 World Series when both sluggers pulled 3 homers. Yogi put 2 together in the last game of the Fall Classic to bring the championship flag back to the stadium. Mickey is one of the all-time long ball hitters and has dwarfed the feats of other sluggers by blasting fantastic drives. Statisticians have tape measures ready when Mickey steps up. In Washington in 1955, he hit a ball they claim is still traveling. Conservative guesses put the ball at a 575-foot distance from home plate. Experts figure that if Ruth's 60-homer mark is to be topped, the muscular Oklahoman will do it. I love that last line, talking about possibly breaking Babe Ruth's home run record. And as you know, ultimately Roger Maris was the one that ended up doing that. So I just think that's a great card. Those 2 cards, both 2 of my favorite cards from the 1957 Topps set. The next card is a 1953 Bowman Y Tittle card. Just one of the all-time greats. He's in the Hall of Fame, of course. Never won a championship, which I find very interesting. Now, a lot of people don't like the design of the 1953 Bowman cards. I actually really like them, and to be honest, I wasn't a huge fan before because of the big white football that sometimes is a little distracting on the card. But I kind of have a theory about the white football, and I don't know if it's right or not, but I believe Bowman put that in the design because 1953 was the first year that the NFL was played in prime time nationally on TV on Saturday nights, and they were using the white football during these games. And I think this was just kind of a way for Bowman to promote their cards and to promote the growing NFL that was becoming more and more popular at the time. And then the last card I want to show is a 1967-68 Topps All-Star card of Stan Makita. I love the design of the card, first of all. But not only this card, I really like, after this year, O-Pee-Chee did all-star cards for a few years afterwards, into the early 70s. And some of those designs are just some of the best designs that you'll see in any cards. And it's one of the things I really like about vintage hockey cards is they just have some of the best designs that there are. So I love this card. It's one of the interesting things about Stan Makita also that I found interesting and kind of ties to me a little bit is he was adopted by his aunt and uncle. And my father actually was adopted by his aunt and uncle. And this video is running a little long, so I'm going to cut it off here, and maybe I'll talk more about that at some point. But I hope you enjoyed this. Again, these are 5 cards that I think are cool to collect, and just wanted to give you some reasons why I collect them personally. Take care, and we'll see you next time.